Hello guys. Alright. For those who don't know me, my name is Mr. Clint. I am the homeroom and I am your homeroom for grade 7. Now as your homeroom, I'm going to remind you a few things before going to proceed to our class for today. Alright, first, I hope you added all your subjects already. And I've been observing you guys with your other classes, with your other subjects. Now, if I can see and if I can hear any teacher complaints that you have been misbehaving, you're not doing your work, alright, you're late in coming in and joining your online class, I will reprimand you. Mind you, I will not be easy on it. And I don't want you to make me feel angry about it because you will not like it. I hope it's clear. Second, I need you to pay attention on all your discussions and all your lessons. Never play with other social media. Alright, focus on your lessons. Third, when you try to use your communication group, just like your line, make sure you only have to write messages, which is very important because it is not a playground. You can't play around and ask people, talk to people with that group. I hope I'm clear. Fourth, every time we are going to have a class, make sure you are on time in joining the class. Comment present once you are there. It will serve as your attendance. And also, make sure you prepare your notebook and your pen with you. Take down notes. Write down all the important details of the discussion and the lessons that we have for that day. Alright? And after our discussion and after our class, take photo or take picture with your notebook and your copies. Send it in our line group. Alright, for those who are going to turn in their copies, I will give you additional 5 points. For those who will not turn in their notebook, I will give you -5. Alright, and another thing, before midterm, you're going to get clearance and you let your teachers sign it. Now, if you don't have a complete notes, I will not sign your clearance. Means you can take the midterm exam for math. So I hope it will be clear to everybody how important taking notes is. Okay? Now, we're going to proceed to our lessons for the day. Today, we will be discussing 4 things. And these are reviews with your number skills. I know you're familiar with this, and I hope you are going to be familiar with this, and I need you to focus on this. Alright, what are the number skills that we're going to learn today? First, order of operation. Order of operation. Second, fractions. Third, decimal. Fourth, percentages. These are the 4 order of number skills that we're going to learn today. Alright, what is order of operation? Order of operation, there is a certain system that we are going to follow, a certain order that you need to adhere. Alright? Because if you can't, then there is a possibility that your answer will be wrong. Okay? Now, what is the order of operation? Order of operation stands for PEMDAS. P, alright, PEMDAS. PEMDAS. What does PEMDAS stands for? PEMDAS stands for first P, parenthesis, alright? P stands for parenthesis. Any grouping symbol like parenthesis, bar, or a bracket, these are grouping symbols. So you are going to start solving the one inside any grouping symbols. Solve it. Third, letter E. Second, letter A, exponents, powers or indices, roots. Alright? Exponents, these are small number on the upper right corner of a certain value. So a to the power of 2, this is exponent. 2 to the power of 3, this is exponent. Okay, 3 is exponent. Third, multiplication and division, M and D. So after you solve parentheses, if there's an exponent, do the exponent, and then after that you multiply or you divide. Okay? Fourth, addition, A, and S for subtraction. That's complete our PEMDAS. You add or subtract, that's the last thing you're going to do. First, Do whatever is inside the parentheses. It's either multiplication, division, addition, or subtraction. Do it first. Second, do the exponent. Third, multiply or divide. Fourth, add or subtract. This is the order of operation. Make sure you're going to follow this. Now, we have here examples for the order of operation. Now, 4 times 5 plus 3. Quantity, all right? There's a quantity 5 plus 3. Now, there is a parenthesis. All right? So, it would be 4 times. Now, we have a parenthesis. We have to multiply 5 plus 3. So, therefore, it would be 4. Yes, 4 times 5 plus 3. You're going to start with that. So, it becomes 8. Now, you are going to answer it now. Is equals to 4 times 8. That is equals to 32. So, the answer is 32. Next, 5 times 2 to the power of 2. Notice there is no parenthesis, so we don't do that. Second, exponent for PEMDAS. Exponent. Notice there is a certain exponent. So, do that one first. So, if you have 5 times 2 to the power of 2, this one is just equals to 5 times quantity, 2 times 2, which is 5 times 4 is equals to 20. Alright? This one here stands for 2 to the power of 2. So you multiply 2 twice by itself. Next, the third one, I need you to solve it in your chair, on your table, or in your notebook. Okay? Solve it. I need you to comment on the discussion box your final answer. I will give 10 points to those who can answer this and 5 points to those who are going to be after the first 5. Only first 5. The first 5 to submit the correct answer for that example C, I will give plus 10. The rest of it, I will give plus 5. But if you don't give me an answer, I will deduct minus 5 for the day. Am I clear? Make sure you answer. Comment your final answer in the discussion box. I'll be expecting your answer, guys. Alright, so that is the order of operation. First is PEMDAS. Parenthesis, exponent, multiply, divide, add, or subtract. Follow those system and you will have your correct answer. Integers. Now we will have basic fractions. Now after integers, what are fractions? These are fractions represents a part of a whole. Remember that, all right? Fractions represent part of a whole. Because once you have a number line, all right? Once you have a number line, when you have 0 here, when you have 1, and you have negative 1. Question is, what is in between those numbers? All right? What are numbers in between those numbers? From 0 to 1 and 0 to negative 1. Now, this is where fractions comes in. So fraction is a part of the space in between 0 to 1 or any number. Alright? It's a part of a whole. That's why fractions here represents parts of a whole. That is a unique quantities that fall between whole numbers. So it is in between those numbers. Okay, that is where fraction comes in. When you slice, for example, we have a circle here. When you have a slice of cake, for example, this is a cake, into let's slice this one into 2 equal parts. Yes, 2 equal parts. And the fraction stands for, if this is a 1 circle cake and 1 you separate it into 2, this here becomes 1/2, the other side becomes 1/2. When you combine the 2, this becomes equals to 1. Okay? Now you have to identify how we are going to learn fractions. Notice we have here 1 and we have here 2. The number here represents a top number. Top number is what we call a numerator. Now the bottom number here is called the denominator. So these are parts of a fraction. The top number is the numerator and the bottom number is called the denominator. Okay? And the line that separates the two is what we call a fractional bar. Okay? A fractional bar. So fraction is composed of two things, numerator and denominator. Now, fraction is also a part of a whole that is in between those numbers. Okay? That is how we call it. Next is, what are the types of fractions? Okay? There are three types of fraction. The first one is proper fraction. Once the numerator is less than the denominator. Okay, so the value in the numerator is less than. So therefore, n is lesser than d. Okay, n is lesser than d. For example, all right, we have an example, 1/2. Notice, numerator is 1 is lesser than 2. Okay, so that's why it becomes proper fraction. It's proper fraction. Next is, if the numerator is greater than the denominator. So, n is greater than the denominator. Let's have an example. Example will be 4/3. Notice, 4 is greater than 3. So that's why it becomes improper fraction. Now, you can convert improper fractions to mixed numbers. Mixed numbers is composed of a whole number and a fractional number. For example, we have 1 and 1/3. Yeah, 1 and 1/3, or this is equals to 4/3. So means to say a 4/3 is equals to 1 and 1/3, because this becomes 3 times 1 plus 1. Yeah, 3 times 1, this one here, plus 1. That's how we compute improper, changing it to mixed numbers. So there are three types of fraction. Remember this: proper fraction, for which the numerator is lesser than the denominator. Next is the improper fraction, which is the numerator is greater than denominator. And when we convert improper fractions to mixed numbers. Those are the three types of fractions. Now, let's go now to the basic decimals. Now, what are decimals? Decimals, these are numbers coming from a fraction. Okay? Decimals are number coming off from a fraction. So when you divide a number, when you divide the numerator and the denominator, the result is not 100%, but most likely the result becomes decimal numbers. What are decimal numbers? These are numbers that in between numbers you can find a point. Right? You can find a point. So means to say, it is the result when you divide. All right? Decimals are results when you divide fraction. Okay? Decimals are, these are results when you try to divide fractions. So what are the kinds of decimal? The first one is the decimal fraction. Decimal fraction is from the proper fraction. When you divide, for example, you have example here, 5/10. When you divide it, it becomes 0.5, or it is in lowest term, it becomes 1/2. Okay? When you divide 16, all right, 16 divided by 1000, the result will be 0.016. Are examples of decimal fractions. Next is improper fraction, as we call it a mixed decimal. So mixed because there is already a whole number and a decimal number. All right, mixed because we have here already a side of the whole number, and this one is in decimal part. Okay? We have here a whole number, and the other side will be the decimal part. That's why improper fractions, the result will be a mixed decimal. Okay? When you divide an improper, means to say the numerator is greater than the denominator, the result will be a mixed decimal. There will be a whole number part plus a point, and there is a decimal part. Now the third one is a combination of a whole number and a fractional number. We call it mixed decimal. Notice also that whole numbers are decimal. For example, 69 can also be written as 69.0 or 69 itself. So a whole number is a decimal number. Okay? A whole number is a decimal number. Next, percentages. Percentages is taken from fractions, the result of which is in decimal, and it is divisible by 100. Okay, divisible by 100, because percents, all right, percent per se, percent means decimal or fraction. And percent means per hundred. Remember that one. Percent means per hundred. Think they should be divided by 100. For example, if you have 75%, it means what? 75% is equals to 0.75 because you are going to divide this by 100. Okay? Cancel the percent divided by 75 divided by 100. The result would be 0.75. Okay? So that is what percentage is all about. Now, let's have a quick example about percentage here. Calculate 25% of 80. Now, 25% of percent, 25, when you convert it, it becomes 25 over 100. Now, this is how we convert percent to fraction. So, 25 over 100 times 80. Okay, because we're trying to get what is the 25% of 80. So, times 80, the result will be 20. So, means to say, how do we solve this? 25 times 80 divided by 100. So the result is 20. Alright, next is 15% of 200. Now 15% to fractional form is 15 over 100. So 15 over 100 times 200. So it becomes this one. When you try to divide this, alright, when you try to divide this 200 divided by 100 is equals to 2. That's why it becomes 2. So 15 times 2, there are 30 bad apples. Okay? Alright, now let's have a quick review. First, we learn about integers. Integers are located in a number line, and these are numbers that compose of positive, zero, and negative numbers. Positive numbers, these are numbers above zero, greater than zero, or higher than zero. It can be written with a plus sign before that or no sign at all. While negative numbers, these are numbers that's below or lesser than zero. And you always have to write a minus sign before every number to signify that it is negative. Okay, so those are the types of integers, the positive, zero, and a negative. Now, second, we discuss about fractions. Alright, fractions is a part of a whole, and fractions is composed of numerator and denominator. What is a numerator? Numerator is a number above, alright, or on the top of a fraction. And while denominator is the bottom number in a fractional form. Alright? Now, what are the types of fractions? The type of fractions are proper fractions, which is numerator is lesser than denominator. Improper fractions, for which numerator is greater than denominator, for which if you simplify improper fraction, the result will be the third type of fraction, which is a mixed number. It's composed of a whole number and a fractional part. Now, third, decimal. Decimal is the result when you try to divide fractions. Alright? When you try to divide fractions. And you can always see a small point in between numbers. Only one. Alright? So what are the types of decimal? The proper decimal, for which it is taken from. Alright? Taken from a proper fractions, for which it always starts with 0 point something. Right, 0 point something. The next type of decimal is the improper, or we call it the mixed decimal. Mixed decimal because there is a whole number already before the decimal point and a decimal part. Like 1.2. There's a whole number 1, a decimal point, and a decimal part, which is 2. Alright, so because of these things, mixed decimal is composed of whole number and a decimal part. Remember that one always. The fourth one that we have today is percentages. Percentages is derived from a fraction or a decimal, but it is always divided by based on 100. All right, by 100, because percent means per 100. All right, percent means per 100. So if you have trying to get the 25% of something, so it would be 25% over 100 times that something that you want to find. Okay, so don't forget those four things, because they are very related to each other. Once you know what is your integers, then you know what is a fraction, you know decimal, you know percentages, everything is going to be easy. Now, after this video, guys, I have attached again another set of worksheets for you to do, and I want you to submit it on time. I'll give you 10 minutes allowance after the time, and after that your work will be considered late. Okay? Don't forget to answer the worksheet. And once you open this video, don't forget to comment present for your attendance. Tomorrow I will give a quiz, so make sure you study your lesson. Again, have a good day, guys. Thank you.